right, welcome to another episode of the Attorney Lounge. I want to thank Noell Hinsley for joining me today. Thanks, Noell, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Noell and I have similar backgrounds, and I wanted to that's the reason for the GCU hat and for
Hopes
the
up.
KU shirt. Hooks up. And I don't know if you can see, I also got out some of my bobbleheads here. So
Oh,
you can see
perfect.
my KU bobblehead, my you know my Thunder Lopes
Love.
up bobblehead. But Noelle went to GCU undergrad, and she was a student there when I was the general counsel, the chief administrative officer, and now she is a student at the University of Kansas Law School, which is my alma mater.
hmm
So we have that in common as well. I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and Noelle is a cheerleader for the Chiefs. So I thought, we had a lot in common, and we've interviewed a lot of more seasoned attorneys. And I thought it'd be cool to interview someone who's going through the process. So Noelle just finished her first year of law school. So I guess maybe we could start with that. How was the first year of law school?
I honestly really loved it. I feel like I've always been kind of a nerd for school, so I've always really loved to absorb new information and learn. So getting to do law school and focus on something I was very interested in was actually really fun. I found so many really good friends through the first year of law school. It can be quite an adjustment going from undergrad to being in law school. So being able to find friends right away who you were in it together with was really helpful for me, and especially just keeping me accountable, like showing up to classes together, showing up to extra activities together, studying together. That was really helpful. So I actually had a really fun first year, and I'm actually really excited to go in for the 2L year with more classes that are more elective based that you got to pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Your first year, you're kind of knocking out, you know, property contracts, civil
Yes.
procedure, evidence, sort of all of those sort of mandatory requirements. I found that, the first year was pretty difficult because you're learning how to study. You're getting adjusted to the
hmm
fact that, there's only one test.
Yes.
You're not taking multiple tests throughout, which is pretty stressful. And then I found as I got, further into my law school career that it was a little easier. You kind of figure out, the process, you kind of learn how it works, and you can start to take more electives, which was fun. So for me, as a business attorney, I started taking more business oriented
hmm
classes. Um, and so, yeah, but any idea kind of, what are you looking at taking this year? What kind of electives, I guess, are you looking forward to?
So I'm kind of taking a little bit of everything just to dip my toe into everything, such as like criminal procedure, but also taking like juvenile law, evidence, business administration, just kind of getting a feel for everything. I initially went into law school wanting to do family law, and I still am really interested in that area of law. But over the summer, I've also done civil litigation work and workers' comp. So I've been interested in that. So just like learning as much as I can, trying different areas to see what I'm really interested in and want to continue with post law school.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great time to kind of introduce yourself to different topics, different. I actually I had an idea that I wanted to be a tax attorney, and that was and here it is the stupidest reason for that too, and it's because I read the book The Firm by John Grisham, and I thought I'm going to be Mitch McDeere and I'm going to be a tax attorney. Like no clue, like no concept. But then as I ended up doing my second year, my my summer associate year at Snell and Wilmer here in Phoenix, I got to know the business and finance team and really kind of figured out at that point that that was kind of an area of law that I was really interested in, corporate law. And so I think kind of, you know, um, you know, meeting different attorneys, trying different classes, different experiences when you're interning and stuff like that. Really good to sort of figure out, kind of what you're interested in.
Yeah, similarly, I went into law school not really sure if I wanted to go to work in the courtroom or if I wanted to do litigation. But as we moved through the year and we started working on oral arguments, I realized I really did have like a passion for being in the courtroom and especially with work over the summer. So that's also kind of shifted my perspective too. So I think exactly what you're saying, like keeping an open mind to different areas because I didn't realize how many different areas of law there actually were when I was an undergraduate or before I went to law school. And there really are just so many different areas that you can be passionate about and you can focus on.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anything you're thinking about? I mean, I know you have a lot on your plate with the Chiefs, but are you thinking about moot court, law review, any of those things, or is it just basically get through class and do your cheerleading?
So there were applications for that over the summer. I didn't personally apply for those. I'm a Dean's Fellow at KU, so that also takes up some time. Just being able to be a mentor for incoming students. I like I mentioned, had a really great 1L year, and I feel like I have been working, and I know that some other people who are 1Ls work as well. So being able to like share my advice with that, I really wanted to do. So being a Dean's Fellow and being able to take some of those 1Ls under my wing a little bit and share what helped me and was able to make me succeed a little bit. I really wanted to do that. So I didn't do moot court or law review. And then I'm also in women in law. So I think that's a great way to meet people as well when
Yeah,
you're getting into law school.
yeah. Did you do the what is it called? Is the Blue Book relays?
Oh
Did
yes,
you guys do that?
we did do that. One of my close friends actually was super passionate about Blue Books. We let her be like our team captain. But yeah, that was definitely a fun part of law school. They do like a little Blue Book relay race. We didn't win, but we grew as a team. So
There you go. I remember doing the Blue Book relays, and I remember spending a lot of time in the library. But I don't. I mean, I was in law school from 95 to 98. And so like life was a little different back then. We were literally, I mean, you probably weren't even born yet. I don't even
I
know,
was
but
not.
yeah, so we weren't even doing I mean, the internet was brand new. We were all figuring out, we had Westlaw and Lexis for research, but it was, literally spending time shepherdizing cases, like in the library, going through books. And so I don't even know like if that's even part of the law school experience. I'm glad to hear that the Blue Book relays are still going
Oh
on
yes, I
though.
feel
Yeah.
like it's a tradition.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And they're actually looking at building a new law school. I don't know if there's any discussion about that, but they're talking about moving it up to Green Hall up on campus. So when I was in law school, we took there's like a tour back to the former law school. Did you guys do that too?
I think there was that. Yeah, I didn't go to it.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. Where they're talking about putting it is going to be kind of cool. It's right on Jayhawk Boulevard, kind of
Oh,
overlooking the football stadium. It should be kind of cool.
they're doing a lot
Well,
of like construction right now too. Like they're kind of rearranging it a little bit too. So
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I want to go sort of backwards a little bit, and then we'll go forwards to kind of what you're doing now. But tell us a little bit about kind of where you grew up and kind of your experience leading to, GCU and then ultimately KU Law. So just a little bit about your background, if you would.
yeah, of course. So I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Always been a Midwestern girl. And I grew up dancing my entire life and then competitively in high school and with my studio. So that's what kind of led me to GCU because GCU was known kind of nationally for their game day routine. And the year I was a senior in high school was the year they had won nationals for the first time. So that's what kind of initially sparked my eye because I knew I wanted to continue dancing in college. That was also when COVID had just hit, so I was kind of itching to try a new location. And of course, Arizona is like such a fun place. So
Yeah,
that's what initially sparked my interest in GCU. I tried out for the dance team and I made the dance team. And it was kind of just like that. I decided to go there. Again, that was when COVID hit. So I actually moved on campus without ever seeing the campus before because I wasn't able to travel down there. I had just seen pictures and virtual tours. But of course, the campus was like another reason I really wanted to go there. They have such a
yeah,
beautiful campus, and of course, you can't really get much better than living in Phoenix and being 30 minutes from Scottsdale. So I was really excited about that. So that's
yeah,
what initially moved me from living in Omaha to Phoenix, Arizona, was my just passion for wanting to continue to dance. And then once I got to GCU, I've known I wanted to pursue a legal career probably since freshman in high school. That was kind of something I always wanted to do.
Hmm.
So when I moved to GCU, I was able to have a government major with a pre-law emphasis. So I was
Hmm.
really interested in that and getting to take classes that aligned directly with what I wanted to do, which was law school after undergraduate.
Okay. So you kind of knew going into college that that was something that you wanted to do
Yes.
when you graduated. So what types of um, what types of activities or things did you do on campus, like were pre-law society, any of that
Mhm.
sort of stuff that you took on to try to sort of prepare yourself for law school while you're in undergrad?
Yes, I did. I was a member of Pre-Law Society, and then I also had some really great professors who were able to steer me in how to prepare for applications for law school, what courses to continue to take. And then, of course, being on the dance team, I was really involved with that. We did a lot of activities on campus, of course, performing at games and around the campus as well. And then we also competed nationally at nationals. So we were highly competitive during the winter months. And then I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, just a lot of philanthropic activities as well. That's kind of what got me to want to be a lawyer in the first place. Was I always wanted to do something to help people in my career. I've done service opportunities since I was, I think, in middle school, just helping around in my community in Omaha, and then as well when I moved to Arizona. So that was always been such a huge passion of mine, was just helping others.
Yeah. Um, so what did you think of GCU? What did you think of your undergrad experience?
Oh my gosh, I loved GCU. I travel back to Arizona quite a bit. I was just there, and just getting back to be back on the campus. The campus is truly like no other. It feels like a little town in the middle of Phoenix,
Hmm.
Arizona. So you really do get to know people, not even just people I danced with, but people who were in my classes for 3 years, who we all had the same major. We were able to form a little like community, and they really don't lie when they say that the community at GCU is kind of like no other. I knew going into college I wanted to be a part of a little bit smaller of a campus just so I could be like walking down Lopes Way and see people I was in class with, or see people who
Hmm.
were on the dance team or cheer team, or people that I was just familiar with, and I really liked that about GCU. And then of course their basketball atmosphere, their athletics atmosphere is so great. And then also just being able to go to a school that was really passionate about their faith really helped me get closer with my faith as well. So I just have really great things to say about GCU. I loved it, and every time someone asks me about it, I'm like a spokeswoman for the school, and I'm like, you have to go visit the campus, drive around Arizona, because I feel like that also too is just so different than the Midwest and living in Omaha. So that's why I really loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, obviously, I love the school. Obviously, I was a big part of the school for a long time, and I'm still involved with the school today. And we go to all the basketball games, and
Yep.
so we're constantly immersed in that whole thing. We were just talking before we hit record here, reminiscing about Welcome Week and what a big deal that is at Grand Canyon, and how welcoming it is for so many students to come in. And you guys would come up to our offices, and like the whole band. I mean, this tiny space,
Yeah.
and the whole band, all the cheerleaders, the dance team, everyone was in there, and you guys would perform in this little tiny space. And I still think that I have ear damage from
Oh,
those
same.
things because it was such a like close quarters and everything.
Same with the
That it was
basketball
so much
games.
fun.
The basketball
Oh
games
yeah,
are like no
yeah,
other. The noise, the music, the strobe lights. I mean, I'm still like thinking about it to this day.
yeah. Brian would always say, President Mueller would always say, like, if it's too loud, you're too old. He
Yeah.
would crank. He wanted to crank up the volume, and he loved. I mean, President Mueller is as big a basketball fan as you're going to find, and he loves GCU basketball, but he loves the entire game day experience. I think he loves watching the students and the band and the cheer and dance and all of that as much as he likes watching the basketball game. And then in the middle of the game, they always do like a President Mueller, chant as well.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Uh, but that experience is just phenomenal, and you guys do such an amazing job of just bringing people together in that arena and making it such a fun experience.
Oh, thank.
Kudos to you guys for your time there. Have
Yes.
you been now that you've been at KU? Have you been to a basketball game at KU yet?
See, I actually have not, and I know such a fake fan for saying that, but I haven't had the opportunity to go to a basketball game or a football game yet. I think I was just trying to like get adjusted to a new school and my 1L year. But
Hmm.
definitely now that some of the football games are going to be at Arrowhead, I'm definitely going to be going to those. But I definitely need to go to a basketball game this year. Even though they might not be as fun as GCU games, I have high hopes for them because I know those games are super fun as well, and they're so talented. So
Yeah, KU basketball is, obviously a huge tradition,
yeah.
and it's right there, kind of in the parking lot of, the where the law school is. So I
Hmm.
highly recommend you go. I grew up. I don't know. Yeah, I grew up in Lawrence, and so when I was a little kid, I was a ball boy there at KU
Oh, really?
basketball games, and then I worked in the field house when I was in undergrad and all that sort of stuff. So I have so many great memories of KU basketball. So it's hard for me with KU and GCU. If they were ever to meet,
Oh,
it would be very difficult for me.
my
But
dad got his master's at KU, so I really want to take him to a game this year. I think that'd be like a full circle moment if he came back there and while I'm still there. So
Yeah,
that's the
that
goal.
would be very cool. Well, I highly recommend you go. It's a great experience. Um, and so, okay, so uh, tell me a little bit too, like during your time at GCU, as you realize, okay, you're getting towards the end of your undergrad, what types of things were you doing to sort of get yourself prepared for taking the LSAT and then the application process for different law schools? So, for other students that are listening to this, what types of things did you do and what kind of advice do you have for them as you're sort of planning for that next step post graduation?
Yeah, of course. So, as I mentioned, I kind of knew I wanted to go to law school from my freshman year of GCU. I knew that was going to be my next step. So, I actually only did 3 years of undergraduate school at GCU, took a lot of summer classes because I knew I was going to be heading to more school. So, my junior year was technically my senior year. So, like I previously mentioned, had a lot of professors that helped me with applications and how to have a resume for law school. And I really took advantage of a lot of the resources at GCU as well, such as the Pre Law Society. So that was really helpful, especially for someone who my parents aren't lawyers. So I was kind of thrown into the wolves. I didn't really know exactly what to do. So
Hmm.
my the summer after my sophomore year of college, going into my junior or technically senior year, I
Hmm.
started to prep for the LSAT, and I took a Kaplan prep course, and it was like a Zoom class, and then you did book work outside of class. And I thought that was so helpful. I am someone who is kind of a visual learner, so being able to see a screen of a professor kind of writing out the steps on how to study and how to answer the questions. And I think thinking back, that'd probably be one of my biggest pieces of advice for people taking the LSAT is get into a prep course or have prep books that you're able to like visually see the different types of questions, and also learn from someone who's already taken the LSAT was really
Hmm.
helpful because it also gave me some sort of like stability and schedule. Like these are the days I have that Zoom class, and then I'm able to block out different hours for studying. And then I
Yep.
also really liked being able to study for the LSAT over the summer because obviously there's a little bit more free time than during the school year. So when I
Hmm.
was studying for the LSAT over the summer, I also had scheduled out the different LSATs I was going to take. So I had two blocked out. I think it was August and either October or November that I took them. And I think that was also very helpful because, of course, you want to be able to do it in one try. But
Hmm.
sometimes you do get a better score the second time you take it. You're just more familiar with the test, how to study, how to take it, all of that. So that's another piece of advice I had was just um, don't just bank on taking it once. Maybe take it twice just so you can really get the best score that you can. And then after I took my LSAT for the first time, which was August, I believe, is when I started working on what schools am I going to apply to, working on applications, resumes, because that can be a little bit of a lengthier process, especially when you
Hmm.
don't know exactly where you want to end up.
Yeah. So did you just take it that one time or did you end up doing it a second?
I did do it twice, and I did do
You
better the
did.
second time.
And how does that work too? I've always kind of wondered, do they take your best score or or does different schools do it different? Do they take an average? How does that work?
To my best memory, I believe some schools take your best score, and I believe some average them out. I'm not
Okay.
100% on that one.
Okay. Yeah. I ended up taking it once. I went to Watson Library at KU and I found a LSAT prep book
Yep.
on the shelf. I think I looked at it for about an hour. I got really bored. I just closed it and just went in completely blind.
See, I wish I could have done that.
Oh, I didn't do great. I didn't do great. I mean, I did good enough. I did good enough. So, but not, but I didn't do great. So I think what you're saying is like great advice and, take the time, and plan it out. I mean, you really need to think, a couple years in advance,
Yes.
and really try to schedule it out to get the prep courses done, to give yourself time to take it once, to possibly take it a second time. Um, and so I think, I have two daughters, a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old. And I'm trying to sort of impress upon them to start thinking ahead and start to plan out a couple years in advance because you got to work backwards into some of these things. And this
Yeah.
is one, I think. So great advice, I think, to think ahead and kind
And
of
there's a
back
lot
into
of
your
like
schedule.
resources too. Like you can go, not everything, you don't have to spend money if you can't too. There's a lot of the libraries I went to had books you could check out for prep classes for LSATs. I know GCU had a lot of resources as well, like how to study for the LSAT, how to prepare, and then also courses. There's a lot of free courses online too that I looked at as well. So you don't always have to like spend money to be able to study properly for those kind of tests.
Yeah, and back to kind of what we talked about before, the online resources just weren't there when I was going to school.
Hmm.
It was sort of like, kind of whatever, you had to go to the library and check stuff out. It was like the Dewey Decimal System. You got to
Yeah.
go find it. I don't know. Okay, so after you're done with the LSAT, what sort of process did you go through to sort of identify which schools you wanted to apply to? Like, how many did you apply to, and sort of what was that process like?
Yeah, so I actually applied to like 10 or 11 schools. I applied to a lot. I
Hmm.
knew the schools that I applied to KU and U University of Kansas City. I can't think of the name for it right now.
Oh, UMKC.
UMKC. I don't know why I
Yeah,
just blanked
the
on that.
Kangaroos.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. So I applied there because I've always known I wanted to dance professionally, so I
Hmm.
knew I wanted to try out for the Chiefs. So of course I applied to those, and then I also applied to all the schools in Nebraska, just because I knew I wanted to be a little bit closer to home. I loved Arizona, but especially while I was in law school, I wanted to be a little bit closer up to home. And then
Hmm.
I applied to a lot of schools in areas that I could have seen myself living in post law school. So I think that was
Hmm.
another helpful piece of advice I received from a professor was a lot of the places you attend law school, you're maybe going to want to take the bar there or work there after. So I applied
Yep.
to a lot of cities and I was like, oh, I could have seen myself living here. Or
Hmm.
and then I also had a couple of like those dream schools that I wasn't sure I was gonna get in, but I just
Yep.
applied. So I applied to a
Yep.
lot, which I think
Yep.
is if that's a viable option for you, a good idea because it gave me a lot of when I received that feedback, either the yeses or the nos from those schools, I was able to kind of weigh my options and decide where I really
Hmm.
wanted to go.
I think that's really smart. I ended up applying to six schools, some of the same reasons that you did. And I got into two. I got into Washburn and Kansas. That was it. Uh, Miles and KU was like, you can come here, but you got to start in the summer. So I
Oh
barely,
yeah.
like by the skin of my teeth, just barely got in. Um, but what I found was like I did really well. I sort of applied myself in that first year and got good grades that first year, which then led to um, interview opportunities the fall of my second year, and then an internship at Snell. And I always joke about, I mean, I can say this now because, I'm old, but like we talked about fantasy football, my entire interview with Snell and Wilmer. That's my recollection of it. So it's like, I think they were looking, it was kind of like, my first year grades sort of demonstrated that I had the academic ability, that I had the ability to, think critically and sort of do the work. And I think the interview process was more, your personality and how well you would fit in with the firm and some of that stuff that they were looking for.
Oh,
But you know, and I think that the other thing I've heard too, and I think advice that I give to students that are going through law school as well, is to think about exactly what you said, where you want to work when you graduate, because you're going to end up networking in that community for 3 years. You know, some of the classes are geared towards, you know, the bar exam, which is state specific. So if you're thinking ahead a little bit, you know, you can think towards like where you want to work and live when you graduate. So I
yeah.
think that's really smart and good advice.
And going back to what you said about showing your personality in interviews, I think that a big part of, because a lot of the schools I applied to actually didn't interview candidates for the law school, but I think the personal statement is really important to the application process. I took the longest in my application process to prepare that personal statement to make it really unique to me so that when law schools were reading my application, they were able to kind of picture the student, future lawyer that I would be if
Mm-hmm.
accepted to that school. So that's another a little piece of advice I have is make sure you don't rush into that personal statement. Take the time to plan out the maybe few weeks or months that you're going to use to write that personal statement because just like you mentioned for the interview process, that's kind of your interview process as well for law schools. They're trying to get to know you based on your history, based on who you are in undergraduate. So don't be afraid to show your personality a little bit in that personal statement.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And then, so after your application process, you apply to the different schools. What made you choose KU? Was it because you know you were? Was it the Chiefs in particular? Was it some other reason? Like what sort of led to the decision to choose KU?
Yeah, so I actually received my acceptance into KU in like January. And I have a really close friend of mine who was a 1L at the time at KU. We went to high school together, we danced together. So
Hmm.
she really gave me some insight on the school itself. And then, of course, I had done my research on just the community. My dad, he wasn't in law school, but he got his master's at KU. And
Hmm.
just like the atmosphere was really appealing to me. And then, of course, my friend who attended KU just had great things to say about the law school program itself. So I kind of knew that that is where I wanted to attend law school. And then Kansas isn't too far from home. It's a 3 hour drive, but it feels like a quick drive. So I
Yeah.
liked the idea of being able to be close to home if I needed to, or my parents could come down and visit me.
Yep.
So I knew that I just felt like KU was just like the right option. You know how you can just kind of tell. I
Yeah.
really liked everyone I had talked to from the school, students and faculty as well. So I
Yeah.
just really liked it from the jump.
A quick break here to thank our sponsor, Array, for making this podcast possible. The bottom line is if you're involved in a lawsuit, please reach out. Array handles the logistics for any litigation matter. They take care of forensic collection, e-discovery, managed review, record retrieval, court reporting. They even take care of legal staffing and recruiting, you name it. I'm a little biased because I'm the chief legal officer at Array, but I was also an Array client before I started working there, and they became my first call whenever I had to manage a litigation matter. Array handles all of the details of your lawsuit so you can focus on winning your case. Feel free to reach out to me directly or visit trustarray.com and we'll get you set up. Now, back to the pod.
I feel like there's a lot of similarity too between, you know, as someone, like the two of us are kind of in a unique fraternity here where we're, you know, GCU and KU
Yeah.
people. But I feel like there's similarity in terms of like that Midwest sort of culture and feeling that you have at Grand Canyon, where everybody's very welcoming. It's very
Yeah.
family oriented. I feel like KU kind of has that same. You know, Lawrence is a small town. You know,
Exactly.
can University is a big part of the town, but everybody's so welcoming there. Have you found sort of that? You know, it's been easy to sort of integrate yourself into KU and the Lawrence community and all of that.
Yes, oh definitely. Just like you mentioned, Lawrence is like a small little college town, so I really liked
Yeah.
that about it as well. And then especially being law students, a lot of people are moving from out of state. There are, of course, people who live there, but a lot of people are moving to you're in a new program. You've never been in law school before. A lot of
Hmm.
people didn't go to undergrad there, so we're all kind of like finding new friendships. And the community at KU Law really focused on that, like finding good groups of friends, um, having good relationships with your faculty and being able to find resources and clubs and things you want to join in law school. So that was also what really caught my eye, because I had that at GCU. So I also wanted that in law school as well.
Yeah. And as you navigated your first year, we've talked a little bit at the beginning kind of about your experience, but like, what advice do you have for students going into your first year? My experience, I was told, don't work your first year, just take it. So I ended up living with my parents my first year of law school in Lawrence. And I just, focused exclusively on school, which really helped me to not kind of have any sort of distractions outside of that. But I also got a study group with some friends. We worked on outlines together. We would sort of, kind of compare notes on different things. But, for you, obviously you were much busier than I was my first year. But what sort of strategies, I guess, or advice do you have for students that may be entering their first year in terms of how to do well?
Yeah, of course. I feel like this is an area I'm very passionate about, like
Hmm.
advice for your first year, because it is such an adjustment. And they make that very clear your first few weeks of law school, that it is an adjustment, both studying, classes, and of course, you only do have maybe besides a midterm, that one final exam to
Hmm.
show what you've learned for the semester. But I think my biggest piece of advice was, while you're in law school, don't forget about the things outside of school that you really love, whether that be, for me, dancing, or maybe like yoga, or going to coffee shops with friends, or maybe you're into a different hobby or basketball, whatever it may be. I think that was really critical for me, being able to not, of course, dedicate your first year to school, but also make sure you take time for yourself so that you're not overwhelmed, or, stuff like that. I think that was really
Hmm.
helpful for me. Dance was kind of like my escape, or cheering and dance were kind of like my escape from when I was feeling a little bit more anxious about school. It was kind of nice to be able to go for a few hours a week, to be able to go hang out with my friends and do something that I really, really loved and was passionate about. Um,
Hmm.
and then I think another piece of advice is just don't be afraid of the change that is law school. It really is so different than undergraduate in so many different aspects, but really
Hmm.
taking advantage of, like, just what you said, study groups. You're paired in a section your first year of law school with pretty much the same people, so you're able to really grow close with that section. So just being able to find those friends, find those study groups who will help you with your outlines, help you maybe when you need to just go get coffee or go on a walk or stuff like that. Because again, like I mentioned, people are coming in from different states, or maybe did go to KU for undergraduate, but they're still with different people than they went to undergrad with in college. So just being able to really lean on your classmates, your peers, will really help the first year of law school, because it is very different.
Yeah, and it's like any experience. Like I played baseball, and it's like any experience you go through together with someone where it's unique and different. You
Mm-hmm.
kind of form a bond with those people, and those become lifetime friendships.
Yes.
And law school for me was kind of like that too, where it was so different from undergrad. It's such a unique experience. You're so stressed out. I mean, it can be super stressful at that time. So having other people going through that with you, and sharing those experiences and having people that you can kind of lean on, is not only good for you at the time, but I think it's great for you as you move forward throughout your career.
Yes, definitely. And like, for example, my little study group, friend group, they love trivia night. So there would be like
Yeah.
trivia night Wednesdays in Lawrence that we would go to, and just be able to, like you said, for like an hour, just not focus on law school and be able to just grow as friends was so nice. And I know I have a lot of friends who also found connections like that with people. So I think that,
Hmm.
like you said, these could be like your lifelong friendships, and you're all thrown into the same boat together that you don't really know how to juggle. So just being able to kind of bounce off each other was so helpful my first year.
Yep. Um, any experiences with uh, rolling boulder or lightning strike experiences in the classroom? For anybody that doesn't know, some professors do, in the Socratic method, they'll go through, and so when your turn is going to be up because it's rolling boulder. They just go down the line through each of the rows. And then other times professors do like the lightning strike, where they just randomly call somebody out in
Oh, yeah.
class and ask them. So what was your experience like that? I mean, that was an adjustment for me from undergrad to law school, speaking in front of a large group of people and just getting called out by a professor and saying, tell me about this case, outline the facts for us, tell us what, you thought about the opinion, that kind of stuff. So what was your experience like in any of those classes?
I feel like I have so many, but it definitely is an adjustment. Like I said, like law school is unlike any other. Actually, at GCU though, I did have a professor that did do the lightning strike method to
Mm-hmm.
prepare us for law school, so it wasn't too foreign to me. But
Yep.
I think I have to give a lot of kudos to Chiefs and being a cheerleader for my ability to kind of grow as a public speaker, because yes, it was very nerve-wracking coming into class with the possibility of getting called on based on what you read that night, and sometimes it can be hard. Did I understand it? Did I not? But just being able to get comfortable with talking in front of your peers, and they say this a lot, but sometimes I don't know if it always clicks for first year students. People are not paying attention to your answer as much as you think they are. They're really more worried about themselves getting called on. So not
Yeah.
stressing about that too much, but I do have some funny stories. I remember one of my classes was like an A-B class. So A's are called on like Mondays, Wednesdays, B's on like Tuesdays, Thursdays. And I
Mm-hmm.
had missed the prior class because of a Chiefs game, actually. And
Mm-hmm.
so I come in the next class and I'm like, I feel like I'm going to get called on first right out of the jump. And I immediately did. Luckily, I was
Oh no.
prepared, but it's kind of one of those things where it keeps you on your toes, but the more you prepare for class, the better off you're going to be in class. So they kind of say
Yep.
with law school, it's like you're doing a lot of your learning outside on your own, and then coming into class and making sure you understood the material that you learned. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually didn't, I found that being called on, or cold called as they say, was
Yep.
actually not as bad as I had worked up in my mind. There was another
Yep.
funny story I have in my civil procedure class. We had a case with Taylor Swift, and I remember my professor asking, "Who is a Taylor Swift fan?" Of course, I raised my hand because I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, and she goes, "All right, will you tell me about this case?" So it's one of those things where it's like I kind of got myself into that one, but it's really not too terrible. And like I said, a lot of the fear comes from maybe being judged by your peers, and I promise they're more focused about what they would have answered the question as, or what they're going to say to the next question, than about how you answer it.
I think that's fantastic advice, not just for law school, but also throughout your career.
Yeah.
You find uh, so many people that are apprehensive and they're concerned about being judged, and the reality is that nobody's judging you more harshly than yourself.
Mhm.
And it's other people are so focused on their own thing, and they're not paying attention nearly as much as you think that they are.
Exactly.
So I think that's wonderful advice, and I also think it's an important skill to kind of learn as you're going through law school is to sort of think on your toes,
Mhm.
and be able to stay calm in the moment, and be able to sort of think critically when you get called on and all of a sudden the spotlight's on you and you got to go. Uh, Tell me a little bit about with your background in dance and cheer and performing in front of crowds, at Grand Canyon with the Chiefs, like how does that translate? I think I can see all kinds of benefits to your legal career from going through that experience, but tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, and I think especially going from dancing in college too to being on a professional team where we really do value your communication skills, has helped me immensely in law school. I even talk about that to my teammates. I'm like, I'm preparing for an oral argument, and my public speaking from being a Chiefs cheerleader has helped me so much with just
Hmm.
getting comfortable talking in front of people, learning how to speak slowly, make sure people understand what you're saying, has helped me
Hmm.
so much with especially getting cold called, or oral arguments, or especially in interviews for firms, or talking to your professors, faculty, other attorneys, has helped me so much because, first impressions are important, especially in the legal field, or when you're doing oral arguments, or when you're getting cold called like that. So being able to be a little bit more comfortable in front of talking in front of people, talking to professors and other attorneys is so important. And that's another piece of advice I share with people who are going through the legal career. Like, don't be afraid to work on your communication skills just as much as you're working on your skills in the textbook or in your education,
Yeah.
because it's so important, especially for on-campus interviews or for those moments where you're going to have to talk in front of your class.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely critical. I mean, your your ability to deal with people, in the legal profession, a lot of the networking that you do in terms of
Mm-hmm.
client development, business development, all of that's equally as important in my mind as sort of your technical expertise as an attorney. And so, this experience that you're having, dance and cheer in college, growing up, and now with the Chiefs, I think is just hugely sort of helpful to you. And I think it's just going to pay dividends for you as you go
Yeah.
throughout your legal career.
And I
Um,
don't think a lot of people realize as well, like, say you played baseball when you were younger or you played basketball, like, that's also performing in front of crowds. Like, a
mhm,
lot of people, especially even me, I was so scared to talk in front of people, but then I realized, oh my gosh, I've been dancing in front of people my entire life, or for
mhm.
people who played basketball or sports or even did like debate or stuff like that. You've been in front of crowds and in front of people before. You just didn't even realize how that can make you successful in your legal career and so on and so forth as well.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting to me, I don't know anything about dance. My nieces danced. My kids didn't, but my nieces danced a lot, and they would perform. I mean, these routines that you're doing. I mean, talk about the spotlight being on you, and you guys make it look so easy and effortless. But when it's your time to go, and especially when you're dancing in national competitions, and you guys at GCU did such a phenomenal job. You were
Thank you.
always winning these competitions, but that's also like that's got to be stressful, right? I mean, you got to make sure you're performing. You're also performing with a team. What is that like when you're going through those types of experiences,
Yes,
and how stressful can that be?
it can be stressful. I remember like when I was a lot younger dancing in studio, like I mentioned, I've been dancing competitively since I was in like third grade. So for a while, I would get so nervous going on stage. And then as I got more comfortable with it, I realized that I just needed to shift my mindset a little bit. Like it is okay to be nervous, but use those nerves to like fuel how much you're passionate about dance, or regardless of it, whatever it is that you're doing. I was just so passionate and loved dance so much, and especially my teammates, that I kind of shifted my mindset to those nerves aren't bad nerves. They're just excitement for what you get to do. And I think that really helped me as well in college when you're dancing and competing at nationals, just shifting your mindset. And then, of course, as well for dancing for the Chiefs, dancing in such a huge stadium for such a big audience. Um, and then as well, like I just mentioned, like in your legal career as well, like you're excited because you're passionate, and that's what those nerves are. And then
Hmm.
I think being a part of a team was just something I really resonated with and loved. That's why I loved GCU dance team. I have some of my best friends that I still go visit every few months and that come visit me from being a part of that team and that organization. And same way with being a part of the Chiefs organization. They're
Hmm.
truly like your teammates are friends like no other, and that's what makes all the nerves or butterflies worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Channeling that energy in a really productive way
Yes.
is great. And so, talk about that a little bit. So, what's your experience been like with the Chiefs? Did you know, like when you came to KU Law, did you already have a spot on the team, or did you have to go through the tryout process, or kind of how did that all sort of come to be?
Yeah, so like I stated, I was accepted into KU in around January, and so our tryout process isn't till later. It was in March. So in January, I was able to travel to Kansas and go to prep classes. I went to prep classes like January, February, and then March when the tryouts were as well. So from the first moment I stepped foot into that prep class, was just fell in love with the team, with the coach, with the entire organization. I've been a Chiefs fan my entire life as well. I'm from
Hmm.
Omaha, but we don't have a professional team, so I always have loved the Chiefs. And of course, they're such a phenomenal team, and growth throughout the past few years has been so incredible. So as soon
Hmm.
as I stepped foot in that prep class, the welcoming community, we talk about community in school, but there's also that in this organization as well. I just made some of the closest friends I've ever had through this organization and through the tryout process. So I made the team in end of March 2 years ago, and so I'm just starting or in the middle of my second season.
Hmm.
And being a part of this team, like I kind of mentioned, it's just like an escape from all the other stress or anxieties that maybe school might bring. And of course, like you can see my face light up. Like it just brings me so much joy to be able to continue to do what I love at the professional level for the team that I really, really love.
Yeah. And what's that? I mean, what's your time commitment on something like that? I mean, are you doing this? I have no concept of it. So are you every day driving to Kansas City and practicing, or like how do you balance, I guess, the time commitment with the Chiefs with the time commitment required to sort of successfully navigate law school?
Yes, so we practice twice a week, and I think that the time commitment has really shaped how I am as a student, as an athlete, as a cheerleader, as a friend, because I really had to hone in on my ability to manage my time responsibly and efficiently. And I think that
Hmm.
is one of the ways I was able to be successful through my 1L year, being able to block out time where I'm going to do my homework and then block out time where I'm going to go to practice. And like I kind of mentioned, that's kind of like my little escape for the night. And then
Hmm.
being able to be very intentional about my time at school, the time I'm studying, the time I'm with friends. Because
Hmm.
of course, some of our weekends are booked up with games. The
Right.
Super Bowl, we're so lucky to be able to be such an incredible
Yeah.
team in that sense as well.
Yep.
So it really has, yes, it was a time commitment, but I kind of, again, shifted my mentality to really hone in on those time management and responsibility skills so that I was never overwhelmed by what I was doing. I was actually
Yep.
honestly excited to be able to tell my law school friends about what I had done or introduce the friends from Chiefs to the friends from law school and kind of
Hmm.
connect those two worlds a little bit.
Yeah. What an amazing experience. I mean, not only are you, dancing, at the professional level, but I mean, this time as a Chiefs fan could not be any better. I
I
mean,
know.
so I mean, your timing couldn't be better to be there, dancing with the Chiefs. So what was that like? What was that experience like, at the Super Bowl?
Oh my gosh. It was unlike any other. I talk about being a Chiefs fan my whole life, and I had honestly never even dreamed of being able to attend an NFL football game, let alone being able to cheer at the Super Bowl. When
Yeah.
I was blessed with really great professors as well, who of course were Chiefs fans, but were also just so um, encouraging on my career outside of law school
Hmm.
as well. And so when I told them I was having the opportunity to cheer at the Super Bowl, they were so excited for me to be
Hmm.
able to get that opportunity. And I think just going back to the team, our team is so incredible that being able to travel to Las Vegas together as a team, being able to cheer for our football team with such incredible fans, such incredible support, the organization. It was literally just an experience like no other. I still think about that day that we won that game because, of course, we were all like holding each other on the sidelines. Just we had like 30 seconds left,
Hmm.
1 minute left to score and win that game, and just like the tears that were flowing. The embraces
Yeah.
that we were having as a team after we won that moment was just such an incredible conclusion to my first year on the team. So
Yeah.
yeah, I still think about that moment. I was actually living in Arizona when they won the Super Bowl in Arizona, so I felt like
Right.
it was so full circle for me to be able to then move to Kansas City and be able to have that Super Bowl win with the team that I had just watched win in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And I know exactly where I was when we won it in Arizona
Oh, me
and
as
the next
well.
year. And hopefully this year we'll have another opportunity. I don't know where the Super Bowl is this year. Do you know? I don't even
Yeah,
know.
it's in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Oh, that'd be pretty cool. So
Yes.
hopefully you'll get another experience this year. It just is. It's just such an incredible opportunity. And so happy for you and such a cool experience. So what now as you kind of are coming into your second year of law school, kind of what are you thinking? What's sort of the next step for you this year? You're obviously going to continue to cheer for the Chiefs, but
Hmm.
what's next for you in law school moving forward?
So I've been talking to my friends. Actually, I'm kind of antsy to get back into the school atmosphere, just having that schedule. I'm really excited for my classes this year. As I kind of mentioned, they are more of like elective classes. So I'm really excited to just go into those classes that I'm really interested in. I think as well, 2L year is an exciting time because we've been through the first year, which, as they say, is just the hardest based on your adjustment to how law school runs. So I'm
Hmm.
excited just to be able to understand the process a little bit better, with studying, with how your finals are going to run, with midterms, with professors, and all of that comes with being a little bit more comfortable with law school itself.
Hmm.
Of course, I'm excited to get back to seeing those friends that I saw every single day. It
Hmm.
really isn't bad when you get to walk into class and see all of your friends.
Yep.
And then just antsy to continue learning and get through another year before my 3L year. So just
Yep.
excited to have a little bit, have a year under my belt, a little bit more comfortable with the process,
Yep.
and, just get back to it.
Yeah, it'll be, I think like with anything. I mean, last year, I mean, what an amazing year. I mean, and now you kind of are going into both. You'll be your second year with the Chiefs, your second year in law school. You kind of understand, and hopefully you'll have a chance to kind of, things will slow down for you a little bit, and you can kind of actually enjoy the experience and probably, kind of be more familiar with kind of your surroundings and what you're doing, and maybe appreciate a little bit. Not that you didn't before, but maybe you'll have a chance to sort of at least understand a little bit better kind of what I think you're going to look back on this period of your life and just be like that. That was
I
incredible. So
I know. I always joke and say that I had the craziest 1L year of probably the history because that was the year of our NFL draft. So I had the
yeah.
draft right before I started school. We
Mm.
traveled to Germany for the international game in
Oh
the
wow.
fall of last year. And then, of course, the Super Bowl. And, like, that's the cherry on top of the ice cream cone. Like, it was the most incredible, rewarding year I've probably ever had. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was incredible.
Well, congratulations on all your success. I just think it's amazing. I love it. I'm a huge fan now. I'm a Lopes fan. I'm a KU fan. I'm a Chiefs fan. So I'm a big fan of
Yes.
Noel Hinsley.
Thank
And
you.
so I'm really excited for everything that you've got to look forward to this year. Um, and hopefully we can have you back on. I would love to sort of hear how your second year went.
Yes, I'd love to connect. Hopefully, we come back with another Super Bowl win.
I hope so too. So let's plan on connecting a year from now. We'll see how your second year went, and hopefully we can celebrate another Super Bowl win. So,
Yes, thank you so much.
all right. Thank you to Noel Hinsley for joining us here in the Attorney Lounge, and thank you to Array for sponsoring and making this all possible. And Noel, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.